This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited to be speaking with Rachel Morrison about The Fire Inside. How are you, Rachel?
Thanks, Abe. I'm really well. Sorry, that's my kid coughing in the background. We're in a hotel at the moment.
Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I had a chance to attend the premiere of this film at the Toronto International Film Festival, and it feels like it's been a long time since then. So it's nice to get to revisit it now as audiences are about to start really experiencing it.
Yeah. We had the premiere was at Toronto, which is sort of perfect for this film, which is such a crowd pleaser, and Toronto is such a audience film festival. And yeah, now it's been like a wild, awesome ride, and I'm ready for it to get out in the world and for people to see it everywhere. So I'm really excited.
Can you tell me about your journey with this film and when it all started for you?
Yeah, I mean, the journey with this film has been epic. We actually started pre-pandemic and had 2 days in the can when the world shut down. And for a myriad of reasons. I mean, the whole thing has been a roller coaster ride, but we managed and resumed shooting. And then, the shoot went amazingly. My whole I had such a great time making the film. I loved obviously my cast, like the chemistry that you see on screen. I felt every day, in the room, and my crew was amazing, and we just had this like just beautiful collaboration. And then I think in the merger with MGM Amazon, they got bottlenecked last fall. So we've kind of just been waiting and waiting for the film to release. And to be honest, they said we promise we'll do right by this movie, but it won't be till 2024, and they are doing right by it. They really have been true to their word, but that meant a Q4 release. So it's been a long time. I've been a real test of patience, but I'm again, it feels like maybe things happen for a reason. This feels like a great time for a movie that deals with parity in women's sports this year. That feels very topical, and really just a Christmas release is like the fairy tale ending to theatrical full wide release for for a film that could very easily have ended up anywhere. So this is like I'm very happy to see it to see it get be accessible and get a proper theatrical distribution. It makes me very happy.
That's great. What was the involvement like of Clarissa herself?
So Barry and I brought an original draft, kind of the first draft of the script to Clarissa, mostly to get her blessing when it came to some of the more sensitive material. We were open to notes, but weren't about to rework the whole thing. And then, she actually was really not just okay with, but actually, wanted us to show the more complicated, parts of her life. Like, I think that she understood that that would really flesh out the character and just how far she's come and make it as inspiring as it is. So she was really on board there. And then, once we went to principal photography, she wasn't all that involved. I mean, she's still an active boxer. She was training, she was fighting, she was, had better things to do than sit over our shoulders. Once the picture was locked, we showed Clarissa the cut. And, of all the course of this, the least of which is walking red carpets and public speaking and all the things that I, was scared of my whole life. Like nothing compares with showing Clarissa the film. Obviously, that was the most, nerve wracking because I just wanted to make sure that we got it right and that it felt authentic to her. And, thankfully she loved the film. And it was like so incredibly validating. No matter what else happened in the universe, like this film about her life resonated for her and felt true to her experience. And that was everything to me. So
I think it does definitely qualify as a sports film, even though it's also just a very specific story. Do you have other similar films that you would look to either for inspiration of what to do or something you knew that you wanted this to be different from?
I think like the first half to two-thirds of the film does follow a pretty traditional format. And the best of those, you feel every punch. You're like on for the ride. You get, excited and invest in the journey. And then, the win, you're just throwing your arms up and there's that sort of, get out in your seat and cheer. So I think I was looking to actually have the first half feel very sports film-esque. But then the heart of the movie is really what happens in the next act. And I think for me, it was super exciting to be able to upend the sports format and to kind of reimagine it as a inspirational life movie, really. And like, the crux of the journey didn't end with the ring, and really in some ways began with what happened afterwards, and the resilience that she showed in sort of getting back up even after all that. And also just I think it's a lot more relatable, to real life. Like nobody gets to stay on top forever. So I think that it was for me like exciting to show a much more grounded, authentic, real version of like what that could feel like for any athlete. Even the ones who have an easier time with accolades and endorsements. It's still you don't get to stay on top of the podium like in the credits roll. Like life continues.
I do remember from watching it that, there are events that you'd think would happen at the very end that instead are in the middle here. And so I like that it is, a sports movie that then becomes something else. So I think that works very well. What would you say about the process of recreating the Olympics? Is that something you would recommend to other filmmakers? Are you happy with how things came out?
I am happy, especially considering, at the time we were still up against all the COVID constraints. So we had only, I think, 175 extras at any given moment. So it was a lot of crowd tiling. I mean, to be fair, in the couple years, since we completed the film, AI has probably helped to make to make digital crowd duplication easier and better and all the things. Sad to say, but also probably true. But the rest of it was, yeah, I mean, it's hard to do on a budget. It depends if you have unlimited time and resources. I think it's really exciting. Like people, anytime you get to have like the crowd and the arena vibe, it's like there is something that's very sort of spectacle and theatrical about it. But it's always hard on a compressed schedule and with not a lot of money. So we had the former, the challenges of, even though we were a studio budget, I mean, a studio movie, it was on the lower end, and so it always felt like we were racing to make our days. But also, that's the fun part.
I know that you've been a cinematographer on a number of films, including one of my favorite films from the first Sundance I ever went to, Fruitvale Station, which at that point I think was just called Fruitvale. What is it like directing your own film, and did that surprise you at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's been something that I was really intimidated by. Like I think people like Ryan Coogler have been the ones encouraging me and sort of saying like, you're a storyteller, you have stories to tell, like you should get out in front of these projects. And for me, I was really happy. First of all, I love cinematography. I still love cinematography. I think there's an idea that you even say the word director and that you actually really wanted to be a director your whole life. And it's like that wasn't the case at all for me. I'm like very content behind the lens, but it's almost like my safe place to be the supporting role, to be behind the lens, to always have a piece of glass between me and like, and so I think for me it was putting myself out there in a new way, where I could learn and grow and challenge myself. And like to be honest, that I really enjoyed that part of it. Like I had never gotten to do the score before. Like I'm so proud of our score, and I think it was a really fruitful collaboration. And like understanding when the credits roll, all the ADR editor, the this, the that, the Foley, and it's like to actually get to be the one sort of making the thing from beginning to end, to see a vision through from start to finish. Like I think as a cinematographer, there's a little bit of you invest so much in the project, and then it goes to post, and you're just like crossing your fingers for it. So to actually be able to take it to the finish line was really fulfilling. I think the thing that surprised me is, I'd heard kind of in the ether, like, oh, directing is the loneliest position. And I never understood it, because to me, I always, as a cinematographer with my director, I'm like, oh, but they're surrounded by people and everybody's there to help them. And it's like so collaborative. But then when you live with a project, especially one like this, for as long as I have, and watching people kind of go on and make 3 other films, and your editor's cutting something new, and your, composer on two other and like the wall up the mountain. Like I get that now. It really is can be quite lonely, actually.
What could you say about your cinematographer, Rena Yang, that you used for this film?
Rena was an awesome collaborator, and was everything that I hope to be, when I'm a cinematographer to my director, which is like almost like a wingman or wingwoman in this case, to have somebody by your side who, when you have a great moving performance, you can look at them and be like, and know that they felt it too, and kind of feel assured that like you got what you were looking for. Um, I had asked myself going into it, first of all, I was like, do I try to shoot this myself? And I quickly ascertained not to do that. I thought I would start with this small indie movie, and instead I started with an Olympic studio film, and it felt a little ambitious to try to take that on. But then, even thinking about who I was going to hire, I had moments where I was like, well, there are certainly cinematographers who have a very similar sensibility to me, and could kind of take a lot off the table in terms of just shooting and instinctually the way that I do. And then I went back to something that I had kind of learned, which is that when you have different ideas, it creates a more kinetic, a more dynamic collaboration. So what about this? And that's not how I would do it, but maybe it's better that way. And so I think, Rena came from a commercial space. I knew we were making a studio movie, and as grounded and authentic as I wanted to feel, I also wanted it to have a bit of a spectacle, a bit of a sheen, but not the sheen of artifice, not like a lot of studio films I feel like are everything's neatly tied with a bow, and even the lighting is like perfect all the time. And like I wasn't looking for that, but I was looking for something that would help it reach a mass audience, and not be the like indie gritty thing either. And so I think we found a really nice balance where it does feel grounded and real and gritty in some respects, but also has some really larger than life moments that I think help it to, like succeed on a bigger stage. Um, yeah. So, and also like, Rena does a lot of things, and she operates sometimes, but she's not married to it. And I operating such an instinctual thing for me that I was sort of able to operate a lot without stepping on her toes, which made that collaboration also a lot smoother. Because I think if I had hired the DP who likes to operate, there'd be a little bit more of a push pull when it came to like these emotional moments where I just want to be in it with my actor. And I had her blessing, and she was watching and ready.
You also have a great collaborator in Barry Jenkins. What is it like working with him?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a dream first feature. Barry, not just have written it, but also be a producer on it. It was like anytime I needed advice on, anything from like casting choices to, edit, like weighing in on the edit or whatever it is, like to have your producer be somebody whose work you respect is like, that's got to be fairly rare. I mean, producers are great at other things, but oftentimes they are not also directors themselves. And so to have a creative producer who could really, weigh in on things, and also having walked, done the business side as well, like this is all new to me too, even marketing a film, right? So it's like trying to, we're trying to navigate like there's the artistic version, but then there's also the version that's going to get people to the theater, and how do we kind of toe that line? And really, he's been invaluable in just being it's like the world's best phone a friend, right? Like somebody who actually has been in the trenches and knows what you're talking about and can weigh in from experience, and obviously is a creative genius.
Do you have plans to direct again or to return to the world of cinematography?
I mean, I love them both. If I got a call for some big world building epic to DP that I thought also could be character driven and emotional, I would do it again in a heartbeat. In the meantime, I definitely think I will be reading scripts to direct, and trying to find something that feels as meaningful. And like, I mean, it's never going to be, obviously every project is different, but like I do, I really, I feel so validated putting something out into the world that does have a bit of messaging and that is, additive in some way. And so sometimes I read scripts and they're like completely vacuous, and I want to, hopefully I can find that balance again, something that has even a subtle version of like something to say out in the universe where hopefully the audience can walk away a little bit transformed.
Well, when coming to good movies, is there anything that you've seen recently that's really sticking with you a lot as really great this year?
I have a lot of catching up to do, to be honest. This has been exhausting, and I have two small children. So between, promoting this film and the kids, like I haven't seen as much as I'd like to. I look forward to catching up over the holiday season. I saw a film at Camera Mage that was quite beautiful called Vermiglio. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it
Vermilio,
right.
I think. Yeah,
It's the
Vermilio.
Italian
Yeah.
Vermiglio, which was, I found that quite moving. Earlier in the year, I had seen La Chimera, which also was really beautiful. What else? Uh, yeah, like I said, I'm still like playing catch up on all the ones that are in the conversation this year, almost all of them. So I will. Oh, the documentary Daughters. I was really moved by that. And actually, the film that surprised me the most, only because I was taking my kids thinking I was taking, that it was for them, and then it turned out to be for me, was Wild Robot. I was really moved by Wild Robot, and I thought the animation was so beautiful. It was refreshing to like not have the photorealistic version of the thing, but to have it felt almost like a, old, uh, you know, the Japanese animation or something. Like it was really beautiful. And then the score was Chris Bowers did such a lovely job with the score, and I thought Lupita's performance was amazing. So Wild Robot, I thought was incredibly beautiful.
Well, those are some great choices, and I'm sure you have lots of great stuff to catch up on. Thank you so much for a really great conversation, despite some spotty internet. It was really such a pleasure to speak with you.
It's such a pleasure to speak to you as well, and thanks for rolling with the spotty internet.